Happy Sunday. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so very much for all of you who are joining in on our webinar or live stream. My name is Yvette Lehman. Many of you know me as a yoga or a meditation teacher, and some of you may know me as the founder of Vision Quest or Vision Quest Beyond Belief as it's evolving. And today I'm here to share with you what I have learned so far in life that might help you to step into this next year of 2021 with more knowledge, more wisdom, and more power in a way that you realize that you're in charge, or you can be in charge, and you can create the life that you really truly want to live. So I'm in a very new to me program, and I want to sort of play a little bit with what I can. I'd like to see on my screen if you're chatting with me. If any of you are here watching, as this isn't my phone or, so to speak, Facebook, it's another program, but it will show me if you are communicating with me. So if you want to type in where you are watching from, who you are watching with, so I see some chats in here, I would really appreciate that. And while you do that, I'll just give you a few little informations on what this is really all about. What I wanted to convey here is, for most people that come along into journeys of self-discovery or spirituality or spiritual learnings, a lot of people out there, what I found is they believe that unless you had some major trauma in your life, you don't really either need this, or you don't understand perhaps of why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And this feeling of guilt or shame of, I had a pretty good life, I didn't really have anything major crazy happen to me, yet somehow I just don't feel, and you can fill in the blank. I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and this might help you to understand how this all started. So even when I was very, very little, I felt like I didn't belong. I used to stare at the sky and think that I might be an alien. I might be from a different country. I should be living somewhere else, or maybe I'm from a different planet. And it wasn't anybody's fault. It's not like I was treated badly and I didn't feel like I belonged only in my family. I just had this really interesting feeling that I wasn't belonging, but I couldn't really explain what that feeling was like. And I went along my life feeling this way and searching for answers. So what I'm wanting to say with this is, when you feel something really, really strongly, it affects your entire life, all your thinking and everything. And what happened in this is, wherever I was, if I was on a holiday, I wished I was back at home. If I was at home, I wished I was somewhere else. When I was still in school, I wished I was a grown-up. When I was a grown-up, I wished I was still in school, and so forth, because that feeling of wherever I was in that moment, I didn't belong there. It was so extremely powerful, but I couldn't put words to this either. I didn't understand it. So into my life, because of this searching, and this is an important part of it, when you're asking, seeking, you're putting it out into the universe, and the universe is like, well, here's this information, and you just have to be open to receive. So at one point I was open to receive, and yoga came into my life. There's a whole story to that. And it came into my life in the beginning as a physical practice. But then I realized that there's so much more to it, and I started to dabble into the philosophy part of it. And this is where I came across this information or knowledge that, according to the ancient yogis, when our spirit And here you can use different words: your essence, your being, your divine self, your true self enters into the human body. Yeah, and that happens somewhere in the mid-pregnancy of your mother. So you enter into this physical realm, yeah, and you come through what they call a veil, yeah, and this actually closes your eye. And I say eye, not eyes, because it's not the eyes that see through the mind, but the third eye that is connected to your essence, to your spirit, to your being. And what's closing here is that knowing, yeah, not a thinking, not an idea, but that knowing that you are this spirit being, that you are belonging, yeah, to everything, to the universe, to God, to consciousness, to the all-knowing, to that oneness. So you come through this veil and you forget who you are. And according to these teachings, we really are here to discover, and not discover, but recover, remember who we really are, because we always are that. We just forgotten. Now, when I came across this information, I thought, I'm like, this is amazing that all that makes sense, right? And once you discover, recover, uncover this information and the light bulb goes on, you would think that now everything is fixed. And from here on, life just going to be great because you have an understanding. And this was my very, very first lesson, that knowledge is the beginning. It's important. You have to have it, because with it, then you can start to create your own wisdom, but only through experiencing. And so I was seeking ways of experience and came into my life. A very specific meditation called Irist Yoga Nidra, and we can talk about that a little later. It got me on this beautiful path of discovery. Okay, and what I really want to share with you is, I'm not seeing anybody else's chats, but I have my phone here so I can look down and I could see here that you guys are talking to me. Some of you, Roxanne's here, Darcy, Ashley, many of you, Michelle, awesome. So thank you for joining me, and I'm hoping that this little bit of an information will be as insightful for you as it was for me. And what I'm giving you here is that 20 years of searching, meditating, experiencing, and what came of it. What I realized in the last little bit of my time here on Earth is a lot of people will go through years and years and years of trouble, failing many times, getting back up and trying again, and taking all of the information, all of the knowledge into wisdom eventually, yeah, and perhaps share it with others so they don't have to take 20 years. They could take a little bit of a time because they don't have to fail over and over and over again. So I'd like to share with you a system that came about because of this long journey of seeking and wanting to understand. So if you're interested, send me some hearts and type in some words of wisdom here, or curiosity here, or just say, I want to know, or I'm curious. And I shall share with you. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So again, thank you. You guys are, yes, Susan, great. Nancy, thank you. Yeah, I'm seeing lots of hearts. Thank you, Deborah. Good morning. Yes, curious, definitely. So the journey is in silence. And that was a huge discovery. Okay? A lot of people are very, very afraid of silence, because in silence, there is no distraction. In silence, you really truly get to meet yourself. Okay? So, one of the things is the understanding of who you really truly are. Yeah? Because of this understanding helps you to realize many things. Now, people say, I understand myself, I know myself. But what you actually understand and know is what is considered in this meditation and philosophy, and according to the spiritual teachings, is your subconscious, your programmed mind. Yeah, and some of you have heard of this. Okay, so I'll just explain a little more on this. Consciousness always is. Consciousness literally is your spirit being, your true being, the essence that arrived into this human form. It always was, it always is, and always will be. It's infinite. Yeah, it doesn't end. Okay. Now, when that consciousness arrives into this being, into this body, yeah, now it's got this beautiful vehicle. It's kind of like buying a brand new computer with nothing in it. And I say nothing in a way of, it also comes with some pre-programmed things. Okay. So do we, our body, through DNA, through generations. We don't have to learn how to poop. We don't have to learn how to eat and digest. We don't have to learn how to control the temperature of our body. We actually don't really have to learn many things, because, like even walking, yeah? You practice it, but it's not something that has to come with a manual of, like I need to actually now put one further. You got to get up and practice it. But the rest of the computer is pretty empty. The mind is pretty empty. And according to these teachings, the first 7 years of our lives in this human body are extremely important. Through our experiences, and experiences are all of our senses, things that you see, things that you hear. Yeah, so it's not necessarily being said to you or taught to you, but you're seeing something on television, you're seeing something in the neighborhood, you're overhearing certain things. Yeah, many of them kind of just pass through in one ear, out the other. But certain things, for certain reasons, will trigger a feeling or an emotion in you. Okay? And it's this emotion that then creates an imprint. And as we're moving through those first 7 years of our lives, these imprints, yeah, first it's just one thought, feeling, emotion. If it triggered something strong enough, your mind will search for other occasions where it gets to strengthen, back it up in a way until it becomes a strong enough program that now it's part of your personality. So the first 7 years of our lives, we're building our personalities. So many of you walk around in your life and you can say about yourself, because through these you also create your values. You decide what is it that you like, what is it that you don't like. How do you expect yourself and others to behave, and so forth. And so now you have a personality where you can say, I am like this, I am this, I am not this, I am not that. Okay? So for the most part, this could be pretty good and fun. But oftentimes these programs that in that moment when we created may have made sense and even kept us feeling safe or good, in the long run, once it becomes a very deep-rooted but not serving us kind of a belief, we don't realize that because for the most part we're not present and aware that we're living from this program mind. I used the example a little while ago in one of my other chats and talks to you guys, of comparing this to learning to drive. Yeah. When you don't know, and you don't know, this is why you have to learn when you're, I don't know, 16, 17, whatever the age is. You're programming your mind to learn to drive. And in the beginning, right, you're 100% present and aware. You're watching the lights, you're watching the pedestrians, you're watching every vehicle. You're making sure that you're just the right distance from the curb or from other vehicles. And you're really just everywhere. You're going much slower. We all have followed new students or new drivers learning too, and remembering, oh my God, I was there one time. So what happens is the more you practice this, yeah, the easier it becomes until it's a program in your mind and you don't need to watch and remind yourself you're just driving. Driving is just normal, right? So the same way as how we create all these programs in our minds in our early young years, except that now, 20, 30, 40 years later, we have no idea how and when and what are these programs that we created. So those of you that are walking around in this world saying, I'm just an unlucky person, I'm a klutz, I need to prove to people that I'm worthy, and in here, literally, there's millions of things that you can insert, okay? So I had, of course, many, as everyone else, of these programmings, and realized through the meditations that I was doing that I needed to go deep into, and I figured out a way to do so. And I kept taking myself away into situations where I was away from anything that is distracting. So television, books, phone, food, even a lot. Like, yeah, you have to have some amount of food. But all distractions, and sitting with some of these questions and looking at why. Like, who am I if I'm not that, right? If that isn't the truth, where did this come from? Yeah, and there's ways to take yourself in these places. Okay, and what I ended up with is what I call now the map of my life. I was able to go back into the very, very, very early years of my childhood and literally see myself making that very first decision or thought, and how I strengthened it into a belief that now affects every decision of my life without even knowing it or realizing it. Now, once you have a knowing and a realization, you have choices. And so meditation really is learning, teaching ourselves to become present and aware of our choices, of our thoughts, and realizing once we go back into these past occasions that it's came from there, and now I have a choice to not believe it or believe it, or even more, turn it into my superpower. So all of us can actually become superheroes here with our superpowers from this wisdom, okay? So someone who, for some reason, okay, and I'll just share my very own experience here too. When I went back into the past, and one of my realization was that I chose to believe that I wasn't loved. Yeah, and it was no one's saying or doing. It was circumstances, normal circumstances in life, that me as a little person took on as a feeling that I wasn't loved. So from that moment on, I felt like that I needed to deserve love, and I needed to constantly please everyone to be accepted and loved. And it's tiring, I tell you. It's extremely exhausting to constantly try to be loved by doing for others and doing things you don't really even want to do or like doing, but you feel if you don't, yeah, you're not going to be loved. You're not going to be accepted. You're going to have no friends and so forth. And that's just one. And there is a series of these beliefs. Yeah. So the mind operates from this thought, belief, idea. And as I said, not realizing you live a lifestyle that isn't really serving you. So now, whenever I am about to make a decision, I can see if I'm acting from that belief, because it will never go away. But now I'm aware of it and I can shift it. And it's the shifting. And the more often you shift it, eventually you get to rewrite these programs into being loved, into being able to accept love. Now, when I talked about superpower, right? Because of this feeling, I spent a lot of years, most of my life, trying to please everyone around me. And which is maybe not the best thing, but the superpower part of it is that the idea of loving and being loved was so very important that I learned all sorts of ways to be compassionate, to listen to people. Everywhere I go, strangers even come up to me and they start telling me their life stories. And I said, I don't know why I'm telling you. It's the being the aura. Yeah, my presence is my superpower. It's people. That's what people see. Your superpower. Your superpower is like this woo 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 of trust. I trust me. I will listen to you. I will actually hear you. Your words are valued and stays with me, right? So really understanding that all of these beliefs not just necessarily mean that they were bad, they also created something that was extremely good. But you have to see these to understand who you really are as a human being. Yeah. And also, the more you understand who you are as this human being, the more you connect back to, and this is the uncovering, yeah, and eventually recovering of your true nature, your essence, your being that is belonging to the oneness, to that collective consciousness. So at this point, I would love to invite in my amazing, beautiful friend, Robin, who attended one of these vision quests in person. Well, actually, she attended two. And she had her amazing journey and experience through the guidance. So again, what I'm sharing here with you is through all this trial and error and a long journey of trying to figure out what all this means, I was able to create a system that worked for me, and I chose to share it with others because I was guided to. It wasn't really a choice. It was, this is your purpose and you must walk this purpose. And through this walking, I am offering these beautiful vision quests, and in the vision quests, offering others to have their journey of discovering, uncovering, recovering of their beautiful spirit and essence. So I'm really hoping that I can figure this system out, and just by simply clicking on something, she will be able to join me here in this room. So stay with me, you guys. Here we go. And there she is.
Hi.
Hi, Robin. Yeah, so good to have you with us. Thank you for agreeing to share your beautiful story. Some people like to keep their stories a secret. I'm a firm believer that by sharing, we're giving. So thank you for being that giver and sharer.
Thank you for having me. I'm nervous. Strange. But the thing is, being nervous isn't, I've learned that I can be nervous and I can still do this. And so I'm just going to go for it. And please excuse if I stumble or if I make mistakes. I'm so blessed to be here because I've been reflecting on the last few days since you asked me to be here, what I have received, and I will share this over and over again because it's been so much. We've had a really tough year. 2020 has been a big year, and you can see evidence everywhere of people saying, 2020 was awful. I can't wait for it to be over. And quite honestly, 2020 has been the best year of my life. And I can say that without a shadow of a doubt. And I feel super grateful. Before I did my Vision Quest, I had signed up for a couple silent retreats the year before, but my mind found reasons to not go. So I would always get my money back or cancel right at the last minute. And even this one, as I was driving towards Savona, where we did this one in person, this one that Yvette is offering is going to be online. I was driving towards Savona and I called my husband and I said, I'm turning around. I'm not doing it. I'm too scared. And he said, you are doing it. Get going. And I'm so grateful I didn't turn around. Because what I realized is that and what I realized with this year and with COVID, and I think what it's shown so many of us, is that there is something can get taken away from you so quickly, like your ability to go to a movie to find happiness, or go get together with some friends and have some drinks to have fun. And that stuff can all get taken away, but where the true happiness is right here. And I believe that's what 2020 has showed us, is that we can find this no matter what's happening on the outside. So the quiet and the stillness is such an important part of this. And the actual practice of sitting still and looking inside yourself is the greatest gift you can give yourself. I don't know about any of you, but I have read like probably 100 books in my life trying to find this happiness and wondering, why do I feel so unhappy, or why do I feel this way? Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. One year I said to myself, okay, I'm going to listen to this book on audiobook every time I walk my dog. And so I listened to it for almost a year. I listened to that book every day. I can quote almost every single word of that book. But it was always just words. And Vision Quest, when I finally sat with myself and actually did the practice of sitting, all of that became a reality for me. And so I'm just going to share something really personal, inspired by Yvette talking about your belief. What I uncovered about myself is that I thought I was a loser. I really did, but I didn't know. I had been walking through my whole life, making a lot of decisions, almost every decision I ever made, thinking that I was a loser. And once I discovered that that was a belief that I had for myself, and I actually healed that belief, and it does still come up, like you said, Yvette, it comes up regularly. But when you see it, and you see it apart from you, and you see that it's something you just learned to believe a long time ago, it's almost like you can see it separately from yourself. And so now I go through my days and I don't feel like a loser anymore. I have this kindness and this tenderness for myself that I just can't believe. I can do something, I can make a mistake. I'll probably look back on this video and see things I could have done differently, but I am so tender with me now, and I have this tenderness for others. What's changed so much in my life is my relationship with my husband. I see him with this kindness and tenderness now that I didn't before. And so when I'm tempted to judge him for his parenting with our kids, for example, I can see him with such love and tenderness, and everything in our relationship has changed. He'll look at me sometimes and say, I'm so grateful that you didn't get angry at me in that moment. It gave me a few minutes to really settle myself and return back to being the parent I want to be. Everything's changed. So I think that's the key thing, is it is the actual practice, and there's a lot of fear. But the reality is what is here underneath that fear is a love for this life that we all crave. We all want this feeling of belonging and really connecting with ourselves and trusting what is here. And so it's worth it. It's worth pushing through every fear and every doubt to sit in silence. And one more quick thing is the connection with others. Even though this is an online retreat and we'll be doing it alone in our own houses, I've done an online retreat recently, and I'm an absolute believer that it's totally possible. And this connection that we build with each other, even without words, is the most wonderful connection. We are not just our bodies. We are all very deeply connected. So I appreciate the opportunity to share, and I so look forward to sitting with whoever is called to sit.
Mm-hmm. So before I let you go, I just would love to share with everyone that yes, we're going through and towards something, and I would love for you to stick around till the very end, because there's going to be something very special given to you at the very end. But also there's going to be an offering, and Robin's going to be part of that beautiful offering, and so will be Michelle. And I will talk a little more about some of what's possibility and what might come your way. But before you leave, you were saying that you were really, really afraid to turn around and not show up. Like, what would you say to those that may have this feeling of, oh, this is, and I have talked to quite a few people that are afraid to look at who they are because they will have to become perhaps somebody else. And we're afraid of that. And we'll touch more on that too. But what would you say to people that perhaps are either afraid or thinking that this is just not for me? What would be your recommendation?
I guess I would say there's this calling. If you have this calling, because I had it my whole life, but also I had this fear, and I really feel like if you have a calling, if you feel it, just trust it. Because what I know now is that the calling is the most beautiful invitation to love. But for some reason, our human minds, like, it's the strangest thing, right? But for some reason, our human minds don't want us to go there, or it comes up with a whole bunch of reasons why we shouldn't. But now I just know it's almost like an uncovering. It's not a becoming a new person. It's almost like an uncovering what is beautiful and what is there. And I really, up until this point, didn't know that. I didn't know what was under there. And now I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm like 90% beautiful and 10% afraid. But it was the other way around before. And so I would say, listen to the call, finally. Listen to it and step into the call. And what you will discover, the life that is here is, you'll never regret that you did.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that the journey itself was easy?
Nope. No, it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I cried a lot. And not to say that to scare anybody away, because I don't know. I cried a lot because I had a lot of pain that I didn't even know was there. that now the tears are for gratitude. It was really necessary. And it's also not easy to sit for 5 days in silence. It's not. Sometimes it gets really hard, but we have each other. That's the key thing. We're not alone, and it's worth it.
Yes. I find it's one of the reasons for people saying no to things like this is knowing that it's not going to be easy. And we, as human beings, we're always looking for the easy way out, and for someone else just to have that magic wand and say, whoosh, all your troubles are gone. But what I learned is that there really isn't, like, you need to experience it for yourself to take that into wisdom, to learn from it. You know, if someone else did it for you, if someone keeps tying your shoes, you'll never learn to tie your shoes, right? If someone keeps feeding you, you never learn to feed yourself, and so forth. And so coming into something that isn't easy, what is it like? I have something in my mind, but I want to, and I will share. But I would like to know from you that what is it that made it okay, even though it wasn't easy? What was it through that journey that was like, I'm gonna continue doing this because?
You mean like, why did I join the retreat?
Why did you, like, you joined it? It was hard and you cried and things happened. You could have left. You could have just give up. You could have just taken a book and read instead of actually doing the work, but something made you keep going. So what is that something?
I see. Yes, I had my car keys in my pocket the entire time. I looked at that car so many times. I wanted to get out of there because I was done. I was done. I was ready. And I was absolutely convinced that I was going to sit and be with what came up in front of me, and I wasn't going to look away because I was tired of doing it the same way over and over and over again and not being happy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very powerful. I also find that for me, it's helpful to be in a community of like-minded people and look around and see that I'm not alone. I often see people think, and people that I talk to, is it feels like when you're suffering, when you're in bad places, that you're the only one in the world. And you look around and everyone looks happy. Their life looks perfect. You know, like even people that I get into these retreats, vision course, I look at them and I'm like, but your life is so perfect. Why are you here? Not in a judging way, but just as a curiosity, right? And same thing, like you look around and all of a sudden you're like, you know, these are people like myself. Or, you know, and some of them, yes, have unfortunately experienced traumas and pain and a lot of unfortunate things in their lives. But many people haven't, and they're still in the same boat. They're still in the same situation because there isn't a human being that didn't condition their minds with false beliefs. And that's what we really get to look at, but seeing that we all have it. You know, that it doesn't matter what your family situation is, financial situation is, in the way, we're all the same. We're all in the same boat, and it feels, and I remember you being in the retreat and saying at one point, even though we were silent, I gave permission, and we had one evening of discussion, learning something, and then that's a secret. Well, you guys have to find out. But I remember you saying, I feel so much love for all the participants here, even though I don't even know their names because we weren't speaking, right? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, something happens when you take this journey with other people. Yeah, just connecting and knowing that we're all in this together, that we belong to each other. Something happens. You realize that we don't need words and we don't need bodies to be connected. And many of you watching are my dear friends that did the first retreat with me. I feel so, so deeply in love. I remember at one point thinking, how is it possible to fall in love with people so deeply without any words being spoken?
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, we all shared that same kind of feeling that night when we were able to speak. Yeah. And that's actually a huge reason why Yvette and I talked about this retreat is I'm craving going back into that place where we feel so deeply connected and so bonded. Once you do it once, you miss it sometimes when you're not in it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to connect with people on this level again.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so very much for sharing your heart and your beautiful soul and spirit with all of us. And so looking forward to spending more of that time with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to let Robin go, and I will come back to you guys on what I'd like to do here is to give you information that you can take away from this hour with me, that if you really choose to go ahead at home and by yourself even, or somehow, however you wish, create your own little retreat, you're able to. So what are the things that we're looking for? I promised in the beginning that I will give you something. So these are the things. To understand the reason of why you are the person that you are today, you have to look at what all these programs are in your subconscious mind. And you get into that by sitting with your feelings that are being triggered by some of these thoughts or some of outside sources. So you'll see something, you experience something, you hear something, it will trigger that feeling in you, and it will take you back into that belief. That belief is perhaps like someone, maybe, let's say, at work in the coffee room, two people, your coworkers, not knowing that you're hearing and talking about you, that it's like, I don't know, but she just doesn't get it. Okay. And what happens is when we live from the belief that we're not smart enough, I'm using this as an example, you guys, because you believe it's so, all your actions are from that place. And so you show up into the world being that way because you feel yourself to be that. And eventually what happens, because you're putting out that energy, others pick up on it. Okay. And the thing is, you probably could totally, crooked glasses, you could totally understand and get and be faster at all the things, but this belief is making you act certain ways. Okay. So now you heard them and this belief gets triggered. Okay. So you could go into crying, you could quit your job, you could think that I'm just not good enough at this, maybe I'll need to learn something else, maybe I need to take more courses, maybe I need to get more certificates and so forth. You know, this happens to a lot of people. So by doing this work, when you get triggered into this feeling of you not being smart enough, you recognize it. And because you've done the work, you'll go into seeing how that at that moment, when I created that belief when I was, let's say, 2 years old, because I touched a hot stove and I was told that that was pretty dumb, even though I was told not to touch it because it's hot, created this whole belief system that now it's still dictating, running your life. It was one occasion, it was one time, but since then, think back of all your life. Look at all your achievements, all the things that you have learned, all the things that you have done since, and realize and see that you're brilliant, that you're definitely smart enough, that you're definitely enough. And it's time to change that narrative, okay? When you hear those people talk about you like so, you're not going to get triggered by it. You're going to like, okay, so what did I do? Yeah. Again, you will realize that, see that you were acting from non-truth belief, and here's your opportunity to act differently. Okay? So it allows you choices. Okay? So the first step is that you will want to understand who you really truly are by going into the subconscious part of the mind and looking through all those beliefs. Okay? And you can journal on this, you can feel into this, you can sit in silence with them, and it's amazing what you recover, discover, uncover just by doing that. I realize that the more distractions you remove from your life, the better. So I have gone away into cabins. You can rent a hotel room. You can create a space in your home. You have to have that conversation with your family that perhaps you're going to do this. A little bit of alone time for you, or maybe they're willing to do it with you. Okay. You have to prepare yourself for it. There's a preparation. You have to make sure that you have the food ready that you'll need, and you have your journal ready, and that you put your phone away, and that you remind yourself with little sticky notes perhaps that no, don't reach for that movie, don't reach for that book, but whenever you're triggered, whenever you're tired. And I have to share with you one more thing. The mind, the human mind, creates these stories because it wants to be safe, it wants to be comfortable, and it will always search out and look for the easiest way possible where it believes that there is the comfort. So the more of the comfort you take away, the more you can look into these programmings, and you'll see that the mind does not want you to do that. It will do whatever it takes for you to not see its tricks, because that's where it's comfortable. There's that saying that people that live and have lived most of their life or all their life with some sort of a pain or chronic pain, they either forgotten or never really known what it's like to live without. So they're afraid to get rid of the pain, the emotional, because they don't know who they would be without it. So the mind wants to stick to that easy. Okay? It's easy to stay in suffering because you already know it. To go and find who you really truly are, yeah, that doesn't just take effort, it's taking you into new territory, new understanding, new knowledge, new wisdom, and you become so-called new you, but it's not the new you, it's who you always been before these programmings happened. Okay? And this is the beautiful thing. Many people out there are blaming others. You blame society, you blame parents, you blame religion, you blame school, you blame friends, you've been bullied. It's easy to blame, but all of those were just a one time or a couple of times of an occasion, but that isn't happening to you right now. Yet you're still living from the belief that that's what's happening. Okay? This is why we need to go and visit all these to realize that that does not have to have a grip on my life anymore, that I have choices. Every moment is full of infinite choices. If in this moment I can choose to believe that I'm worthy, that I'm lovable, that I'm abundant, that I'm healthy, then that's who I am. So who do you want to be in 2021 is the question. Who, how, what do you want to be? Okay, so with this little bit of information, you can definitely go ahead, go out there and create your own beautiful little retreat. But since you're still with me, many of you, some of you are still with me, and I ask you to try and stick around to the very end, because here it is. Robin, myself, with the help of Michelle, put together an offering of a retreat that you can actually do from home over the holidays, and the holidays meaning the new year. So you still have your Christmas, all your Christmas food and gifts and family. But if you're choosing to walk into this coming year with the information that you need, with the power you need, with the understanding, the wisdom you need to create the life that you actually have been wanting and deserving, because that's who you really truly are, then we would love to have you join us for this 5 days. So these 5 days will start on let me just see my notes here. On day 1 is December 30th. It's a Wednesday, and we will meet on Zoom. Any of you that are joining us will get that link and information on how to prepare yourself for this. We definitely would love to spend time with you prior and help you set yourself up to have the best possible experience and to get the most out of this retreat that you can. And we meet on Zoom every morning at 8 a.m. and we'll have a closing every day around 6 p.m. And that means that you still be in silence and you'll still be doing the contemplation and the work. But we're not going to be meeting per se in Zoom. And there's many, many, many beautiful offerings and surprises throughout the 5 days. Okay, so day 1 is Wednesday, December 30th, and we go through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and finish January 3rd, which is a Sunday afternoon. And in that, you'll learn a lot about yourself. I will not give away all the actual secrets of what really happens, because one of the teachings to stay present is to understand that it's the mind, it's the ego that needs to know ahead and wants, because it would feel like it was safer if it knew, that it would be easier. So I'm already showing you with this that trickery of the mind as of always wanting to pull you towards and having all the excuses why you cannot, should not. Okay? So I'm going to ask if Michelle or Robin is still with me to type into the Facebook chat, if it's possible, the website where you could go ahead right now. If this for you is the information that you've been searching for, looking for, how do I walk into 2021 equipped with all what I need to make this year the best year for myself? And I'm trusting Yvette and Robin and Michelle to give me the tools, the information. And I'm really craving this community that I'm going to meet and work with and go through. Then you can go ahead onto my website. It's Yvette, Yoga with Yvette. So yogawithyvette.ca. And in there is a tab, Vision Quest. And in there, you'll see all the other Vision Quests that's been offered. But this is the one that's called New Year, New You 5-Day Silent Vision Quest. So I have a little bit of a surprise for you as well. Those of you that are choosing to join us in the next 20 minutes, as that's what we have left together in this time here, are going to receive not 1, but 2 incredible and valuable gifts. One of them is after the 5 days, depending on what comes up for you. And there will be plenty of guidance. There will be lots of information. There will be times when we're together and you can ask questions. But if there's still things stuck or you feel that you need more guidance and one-on-one time, I'm offering a 1-hour one-on-one session for those of you that join us while we're still here for the next 20 minutes or so. The other gift that I would love to gift with you guys is a recorded 40-minute guided meditation on how to feel back into your pure being, into your essence, and find that self that feels, that self, that being that came through that veil and feels perhaps lost, or you feel disconnected, or that has given you all the feelings of not belonging, perhaps. Okay, so it will guide you and you'll have that forever. So these are the two gifts. Again, if Michelle or Robin will type that in as well, so you guys have a knowing. I will also love to offer for not just today, but for the next 2 days, I will keep this card open, and I will offer for any of you that have questions that we don't get to answer. I'm going to keep the next 15 minutes open for questions for those of you guys that want to ask any questions. If you're not clear on, something that you must know, and I will answer to the best of my ability without giving away what I'm not giving away, as for those of you that do join. But I'm here to answer any of your questions. Some of you may have fear, as Robin was mentioning, of coming into something, and you want to discuss that with one of us, and you can talk to any of the three of us, of course. You're not quite sure on how are you going to arrange your food situation or your privacy situation, or what other things that might be coming up for you as for questions. I'd like to open this next little bit for that. But as I'm saying, not just this time, I will be here, so you can send me a message and we can come up with a time for a phone call or Zoom call or FaceTime call. And I'll gladly answer anywhere in the world you're able to tune in, drop into this. Yes, it's at our time zone for those times, but everything will be recorded in a way that if it's the middle of the night for you, you'll be able to get the information when it's working for you and organize it in such a way that it is your retreat, it is your silence. And we are here to support you however this is. So don't feel like that you have to be a Kamloopian person to do this. That's the beautiful thing of where COVID has taken us, is more of us and most of us are now more comfortable with online presence, with Zoom, and with meeting virtually over meeting personally. So is it replacing personal retreats? Hopefully not forever, but it's giving us an opportunity to do the next best thing. And as I said to you guys, I have done many of my very own alone, and you can too. I had my own personal guidance of my experiences of the last 10 years of meditation. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend to rush into that not having any information. But if you're ready for that, you can definitely jump on that as well. And yes, so keeps asking for a password. I have to look into that, Deborah. I had that happen with someone else as well. I had to reboot my entire website last night, so it may just take a little bit of a time. Now, any of you that are saying right here, right now, that I want to get in, but it's your website that's not letting me in, and I want those 2 gifts and I want to receive them, please leave me a personal message right now. You can just let Michelle or Robin know as well, and we'll have your name and we'll figure out the whole plan to how to proceed. Now, if you're thinking like, this sounds kind of good and I'm interested, I've never really done a retreat, but as Robin was saying that she signed up for a few prior and just never made it there. I have met many people that for different reasons just didn't. Once they found that they had to sit in perhaps uncomfortable postures for long periods of time, they chose not to. I know people that realized that some of these places are asking you to commit for 10 days and they didn't have the 10 days. Some people had to travel pretty far to get to a silent retreat and they just couldn't travel to that place. Some of these retreats are thousands and thousands of dollars, or you're not really sure about the food you're given and so forth. So in this case, you're going to be somewhat in the comfort of your own home, at least in your own bed, unless you choose to take, let's say, turn your guest room into your sanctuary for this. But still, when I went away to a place of no heat, no television, no Wi-Fi, no nothing. So, it just depending on really what is it that you need for yourself to keep yourself from being distracted, right? So at times your family might want to have conversation with you, so you need to have that preparation time and let everybody know that this is what I'm planning to do. And the beautiful thing in this, like if your family is not quite on board with you, as Robin was saying too, her coming to and having the experience and what she has taken away changed not just her life, but the whole family dynamic, changed her relationship with her husband. And I'm pretty sure it changed her parenting and so changed her relationship with her children. But it really touches all the people in your life by you understanding. You have more understanding for the people in your life, and energetically it starts to shift and change their lives as well. So if your family's like, oh, I don't know, just give them that little bit of a snippet of information that by me doing this, I'm doing it for all of us. Or maybe, as I said, they'll be willing to participate with you. So are there any questions? I'm gonna just look down on my phone here and scroll back a little bit. Yeah, okay, so no questions as far as I can see yet. So if any of you have any questions on what I have shared with you so far today, in the meantime, so a little recap of, we came here to realize perhaps that maybe our life up to now, or at least 2020, showed us a lot of troubles and sufferings and pain, and a lot of people lost financially, a lot of people have lost in other ways. It brought us a lot of fear and a lot of change for many people, and including myself. So I gave you a promise that I'll help you out with some understanding of how we can make the coming year a much better year, a year where we are a little more or a lot more in control of how our life plays out from here on. And that understanding is to have to learn of who you really truly are, and to look back into the subconscious mind and check in with these beliefs and seeing if they're serving, not serving, where did they come from, and how I can turn them into my superpowers and use these superpowers to create, the life that is wonderful, loving, happy, abundant. Those of you that know what I do teaching yoga, studios close down, open up a little bit with limited people, close down again. I lost about 80% of my income in the last year. And instead of crying about it, I'm like, okay, well, it's only I who can change that. And what can I do about it? And created other ways. And in the end, I'm so glad, as Robin said too, that this in a way was the hardest. But when you do this kind of work, you realize that the hardest always is the best. It's only in the hardest that we see the things that our mind hides from us. And this is why silence is golden. Yeah, you gotta go to that place that challenges that mind, and you have to break through the barriers of the mind that doesn't want you to see, that doesn't want you to change. Yeah, I am so grateful for this year, as said Robin too. I'm so grateful for the changes. I'm so grateful for all the troubles in my life, because it allowed me to create something better. Okay? Something that is actually making me even happier. Not that I wasn't happy teaching yoga, but I'm doing so much more. In a yoga class, you may change the life of a few, but this way, globally, just imagine the community that we can build. Imagine the people that could come into this retreat from across the world that we get to communicate with and build community and relationships with. Imagine COVID ending whenever it does, and us having friends, let's say in France, in in Bali, in Indonesia, in Australia, and they say, come and visit. Like, you just never know. You never know what comes along, what relationships will manifest from us meeting these people in our lives. So I still don't see any questions coming up. If you do happen to think of things but you don't want to put it out here, please do send me a messenger message through Facebook here, or if you have my email address, you're welcome to use that. Get a hold of me. It's yogawithyvette.ca@gmail.com. So messenger, email, get a hold of me, get a hold of Robin or Michelle if you have any questions. And I would so love to have you, to see you and grow with you and journey with you. As I said, my calling and purpose in this life is to walk through the fire myself, to get the knowledge and information and wisdom to share with you, so you don't have to walk through the fire to have your own experience. And I would love to guide you and help you find, recover, uncover, discover who you really truly are meant to be, were born to be, and been before you came into this human body per se. Again, if you just have questions on something and not even retreat related, but something came up because what we shared here, still go ahead and message me. I am keeping myself available to all of you for the next couple of days. Those of you, as I said, that are choosing to commit to do this retreat with us right now will receive those 2 gifts. While the card is open, I'm still offering you the gift of the guided meditation. And once the card closes and you choose last minute to come in, you'll still be able to join. You just may not get those beautiful gifts. So we're nearing the end of our time together. And I just wanted to take this little last time. Yes. Thank you, Michelle, for putting that information in. I just wanted to spend this time thanking all of you who joined in and listened. And I'm going to keep this somehow. I have to figure out the technology here online. So I had a few people say that they would really want to watch this, but they are either in a different time zone or they weren't available or they had to work today. So I would love to have this out there for them as an offering, and they'll still be able to join us for the retreat if they wish to and receive the gift of that guided meditation from us. So thank you. Please do send us your questions, and my heart is so filled with the love that I receive. And as I said, it took me a long time and took me a lot of work to get to that place that allow myself to feel your love. And I do, and I thank you for that. Thank you for keeping me as part of, or allowing me to be part of your journey, or having me as part of your journey in that loving, beautiful way, and hope to get to know you better, to see you on the inside, and to journey with you and to share with you everything that I have learned over the last many years of walking through that fire. I'd love for you to have that feeling, that knowing that you are beautiful, that you are worthy, that you are loved, and that literally you can have anything that you want. There are ways, and I would love for you to see that and to experience that and to create that amazing, purposeful, beautiful, loving, happy, healthy life that you should be living. So thank you. And at this point, I will just close my screen unless, yes, many of you having to run to, yes. So thank you so very much for being here with me again. Love it. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Namaste, and looking forward to chatting with you, looking forward to your questions, and looking forward to getting to know you and spending more time with you. Namaste, namaste.